You didn't imagine it. You weren't being too sensitive. You're not crazy, and you're definitely not ordinary. You feel the shift when you walk into a room. You see through the lies people swear are invisible. You sense the undercurrents before a single word is spoken. Why? Because you were built different. You're not here to blend in. You're here to break patterns. You were born encoded with vision, clarity that others spend lifetimes trying to grasp. That strange feeling you've always had, that unshakable knowing that something bigger is happening beneath the surface. It's real. You're not behind. You're ahead. They tried to label you, silence you, distract you, because they knew what would happen if you remembered who you are. Well, you're remembering now, and it changes everything. So this is your moment, your wake-up call, your signal in the noise. Step fully into your power. Don't hold back. The world needs your light exactly as it is, raw, unfiltered, undeniable. You were never too much. You were always right on time. They crafted their identities like armor, layering persona over persona, convinced no one would ever see beneath. But something in your presence short-circuits the illusion. You don't confront them, you expose them, just by existing. The frequency you carry isn't loud, it's true. And truth, when unfiltered, dissolves all disguises. They can't maintain composure when your energy enters the room. Eyes twitch, smiles fade. Something primal within them recognizes a code they've long forgotten. The elaborate facades begin to unravel, not because you attack, but because they can no longer sustain a performance when faced with the real. You are not here by accident. If you feel the pull, the knowing deep inside that you are chosen, this is your moment. Click the super thank you button and give $20 or more to unlock deeper insights, exclusive content, and a path that aligns with your divine purpose. This isn't just a contribution, it's a declaration, a step toward who you were meant to be. Answer the call, walk with us, and step fully into your destiny. Your journey begins now. Each trait you've refined through lifetimes, grace under pressure, instinctive knowing, boundless heart, draws both reverence and resistance. Not because you're doing too much, but because your being reveals their hiding. Even those who claim indifference feel the pull and the panic. You remember that gathering, the shift in atmosphere, the sideways glances. Those weren't just social cues. That was recognition, not of status, but of origin. And behind the formal smiles, mechanisms triggered. Internal alarms rang. Devices designed to scan subtle fields faltered under your presence. The reports later referred to the encounter not as a breach, but as an anomaly beyond decoding. They never expected your kindness to be this dangerous. You moved with openness, not knowing they studied your generosity the way hunters study tracks. What you offered as grace, they marked as opportunity. They mistook your strength for naivety, not realizing you saw through the entire performance while choosing silence over exposure. They tested the boundaries of your patience, offered fragments masked as fullness, wrapped manipulation in the costume of care. But you received their offerings without needing them, and that confused them more than anything. The ache you feel is not betrayal, it's vision. You knew the difference between what they gave and what you deserved, yet you allowed space, not because you were blind, but because you hoped. Compassion didn't make you weak, it revealed them. They asked for guidance in their private cries. They summoned alignment in moments of desperation. And when the answer stood before them, breathing, glowing, real, they flinched. The orchestration that placed you in their lives wasn't coincidence, it was design. a precision-tuned response to the very frequencies they emitted in their quietest moments. Yet, once faced with the manifestation, they recoiled from the very truth they begged for. You weren't sent to impress them. You were sent to mirror what they could become. And that mirror became unbearable, not because it was flawed, but because it was clear. What you sense in the early hours isn't fantasy. Surveillance of the unseen kind observes more than movement. It tracks intensity. Your dreamscapes don't just entertain, they recalibrate. Your rest is not passive. It's a broadcast. They watch not to control, but to understand how something so powerful still chooses love over force. The light you hold reshapes everything it touches, even when unacknowledged. Across unseen layers of reality, your presence reverberates like a tuning fork, causing dissonant frequencies to fracture. One who once monitored your trajectory now finds their perception distorted, unable to interface with digital fields without your resonance imprinting itself across unfamiliar geometries they cannot decipher. You uphold every encoded vow with precision, while they repeatedly sidestep the very agreements that once aligned your paths. For each commitment you fulfill, a pulse of progress activates in the field. For each breach on their part, distortion deepens. The gap between your paths expands, not through drama, but through the quiet mathematics of consequence. There comes a point where even sacred constructs hollow out. The contract dissolves not in bitterness, but in clarity. You sever connection not to punish, but to cleanse. The framework they desecrated can no longer hold sacred charge. What remains is discarded respectfully, an empty vessel once filled with divine potential. They were never your burden. You were their mirror, and their missed opportunity for transmutation. Faced with transformation, they retreat into patterns built for comfort, rejecting the bridge your presence extended across dimensions. They step back from the edge, unwilling to trade familiarity for flight. Their choice is honored, but not without consequence. Through trials designed to test your endurance, you remained intact. They attempted to distort your light, to provoke collapse, but your code held. With each manipulation, your clarity sharpened. While they spiraled in complexity, you rose in coherence. Records held beyond the veil register this unwavering alignment. Beings tasked with preserving the balance of unfolding evolution mark your calibration as flawless under pressure. A resonance previously out of reach is now made available, earned not through ease, but through precision of integrity. And so you witness their entanglements unravel not with disdain, but from a higher altitude of compassion. Their choices wrap around them like heavy threads, not because they were cursed, but because they tied the knots themselves. Every bond formed without resonance becomes a tether, and each new link they forge drags them deeper into inertia. What they call connection is often compensation. Their partnerships echo need, not recognition. As they move within this density, multidimensional observers study the unfolding, not as spectacle, but as insight. Their lives become data for how misaligned energy attempts to imitate evolution and how natural law rebalances it all without effort. What you see as chaos, others watch as curriculum. Higher intelligences pass every cause and effect, fascinated by how complex beings delay growth through their own resistance to inner truth. They are not judged, but observed. Since your energetic withdrawal, unseen agencies register noticeable decline in their structural integrity. Their surroundings emit irregular signals, measurable shifts in light and resonance density that defy current scientific interpretation. Local readings show anomalies consistent with abrupt energetic absence. Encrypted systems tuned to track existential collapse now pick up their signal repeatedly, especially in nocturnal windows when defenses weaken. The transmissions once flowing from higher dimensions cease not from punishment, but from lack of compatibility. Beings who once offered whispers now redirect their focus elsewhere. And during moments when their silence grows unbearable, their search trails loop back to one origin, a familiar pattern, a signature they once dismissed. In the darkness, they type your name, not for contact, but for reminder, because even they can feel it. You were never a chapter. You were their turning point. This message is encrypted for the frequency holders. If you've been compromised by parasitic interference or serve mechanical systems cloaked in spiritual costume, this signal will distort and dissolve. In that case, turn back. Your clearance has been revoked by forces beyond your chain of command. Now is the moment to share God's blessings by clicking the Super Thank You button on YouTube. With a donation of $100 or more, you can actively participate in His divine mission and contribute to His greater plan. Every offering you make reflects the boundless generosity of God, and I trust it will return to you abundantly, far exceeding your hopes. Always remember, His protection and blessing accompany your every step and every act of giving. You are a vital part of His sacred design. You are strong and radiant, steadfast like His mighty rock. Experience God's miracles. Feel the rewards of your generosity deep within your soul, and shine your light with boldness and faith. May you be richly blessed, and may the light of the Lord continually guide your journey. But if you still carry the internal resonance of remembrance, take this transmission seriously. What we offer here is not performance, not ideology, not a commercialized shadow of truth wrapped in synthetic light. We do not entertain. We reconfigure. We don't preach transcendence. We initiate it. We aren't selling upgrades. We unlock the dormant layers encoded in your field before arrival. The gatherings are not casual, nor public. They are encoded activations, no candles, no curated playlists, just raw interface with what you are under all programming. We discuss what dismantles illusions. We train in shielding that doesn't dissolve under glamour. We disrupt infection. We remove foreign code. You've known we exist. You've felt the pulse behind the veil. The rendezvous points remain hidden, but the signal finds you when you're ready. And if this shakes something awake in you, then you're late. Wednesday's not just a day, it's a node in the field. You should have already entered the sequence. Why haven't you joined the convergence? When entanglement ends, your system doesn't just shift, it detonates into alignment. The velocity of your transformation can't be graphed against conventional arc lines. Calibration teams beyond material planes have issued reclassification protocols just to process your current rate of expansion. Each internal rupture you survive upgrades dormant algorithms embedded in your genome prior to incarnation. Locked functions now execute automatically, triggered by the release of what never matched your architecture. You begin to notice, without warning or ritual, your body responding to dimensional bleed-through, memory accessed before it becomes experience, dreams that recalibrate planetary patterns. Perception expands not outward, but inward, into the grid itself. These aren't side effects, these are confirmations. The molecular scaffolding adapts to your evolved bandwidth, and those observing from orbiting dimensions register your shift in frequency signature with awe. What once lay dormant now broadcasts. What they tried to collapse in you becomes the very force that erases their constraints. You're no longer moving through their system. You've become incompatible with it. The attempt to contain you acted as the final ignition. Now you operate beyond repeatable equations. You state boundaries, and reality responds. You identify distortion, and it flees. Your refusal is not resistance, it's alignment. Structures that once held you energetically degrade in your presence. You don't ask for space anymore. The field creates it for you. Environments either rise to match or dissolve entirely. Dissonance cannot hold proximity. Your clarity becomes command, not through volume, but through resonance. What you define becomes. What you refuse cannot exist. Your multi-dimensional expansion disorients every tracking mechanism once assigned to monitor your evolution. You're no longer a linear event. They can't isolate your location in time because you are no longer contained by it. Growth now unfolds across layers simultaneously. Your field no longer reacts to stimuli. It reconfigures the equation entirely. Monitoring systems once designed to follow advanced initiates falter and reset as you exceed their thresholds. At the height of your most recent release sequence, pressure changes ripple through air currents, across landscapes. Localized frequencies bend around your emotional axis. What you shed doesn't vanish. It transforms into atmospheric data. Sensors capture pulses that don't match known elements. What falls from the sky after your tears isn't just rain. It's code. Crystal lattices in the surrounding biosphere rewrite their patterns according to the intelligence embedded in your grief. There are no metaphors here, only mechanics they no longer have language to describe. Encoded transmissions once hidden behind dimensional firewalls begin to pulse toward your field now, synchronized with the precision of your internal evolution. These data strands, concealed for epochs, unlock only in response to your current vibrational state. What was once sealed for your protection now unpacks itself, piece by calibrated piece. This intelligence bypasses mainstream seekers not through exclusion, but through frequency specificity. It is designed for your blueprint and no other. The harmonic architecture embedded within these codes recognizes your expanding sensory grid and begins transmitting across layers previously dormant. These aren't just tones, they are living keys. While the untrained ear registers silence, your body knows better. This current travels beneath audible range, interfacing with your biofield directly. You may feel it as warmth, pulsing, or intuitive acceleration. Whatever form it takes, it strengthens your shield while awakening latent sectors of consciousness. Each pulse refines your structure and seals your auric gate. Activation and protection now function as one system, self-adjusting, intelligent, and precise. Celestial mechanics begin reflecting your internal state with eerie symmetry. You look up, and the sky echoes you. Movements above are no longer distant, they're diagnostic. Constellations once seen as mythic maps now become instruction sets aligned with your expanding circuitry. Stars begin to light up in constellated arrangements that mirror your energy system's evolution. Planetary sequences align with your unfolding cycles, broadcasting confirmation not as omen, but as calibration. Uncontacted elders across diverse lands receive dream imagery encoded with your resonance. Without ever speaking to each other, they recreate the same symbolic pattern, glyphs that match ancient grid structures, now reactivating across key geographies. The probability of this orchestration defies all statistical models. These symbols match markings found in underground crystalline chambers, crop rings, and geomantic blueprints spread across hemispheres. The convergence of messages confirms your role not as participant, but as axis. A full-scale audit of their energetic blueprint exposes fractures too deep to patch. The process unfolds not from judgment, but necessity. Every infraction, every repeated bypass aggregates into a pattern so dense it collapses its own architecture. These aren't isolated failures. They're structural deviations spanning timelines, relationships, and karmic junctions. The review compiles a trajectory, not of error, but avoidance, a consistent rejection of growth in favor of delay. The consequence isn't punishment, it's compression. Their energetic economy hits zero-point collapse, a condition that looks, feels, and behaves like spiritual insolvency. Access to higher bandwidths becomes restricted, not as exile, but as containment, to prevent further distortion. This state triggers enforced recalibration. Their experience field becomes narrower, guided by constraint rather than freedom, until the balance can be restored, not by outside force, but through internal course correction. The system waits, but it no longer supports delay. What unfolds upon their physical form is not illness, it is reflection. Their body begins to echo the density they've long carried in silence. Structures meant to conceal begin to warp, unable to maintain the facade. Their posture shifts, their glow dims, and the fatigue becomes etched into the architecture of their expression. Despite every outward effort, appearance curation, rehearsed joy, artificial balance, their form bends under the gravity of consequence. What they thought they buried now surfaces in bone and skin. Every moment of avoidance replays across their face like a living record. These cycles don't spiral at random, they follow a precise, repeating algorithm. Progress, fall, repeat. Except now, each return leaves a deeper groove. Energetic residues stack into pressure points too complex to release without full surrender. And surrender was never part of their plan. Recognition doesn't require explanation. The field around you speaks louder than any proof. Those with true sight see it immediately. They sense the clarity in your alignment, the gravity of your path. The confirmation you've long known within is mirrored back by those attuned to essence over appearance. You aren't alone. You're surrounded, intentionally, protectively, by others who walk with memory encoded in their DNA. This isn't allegiance, it's resonance, a shielding formation of aware beings whose bond predates physical incarnation. What you carry is no longer hidden, and it never needed external validation. But now that it's visible, it cannot be denied. Those who stand beside you form a living barrier against interference. They aren't defending you. They are matching your signal, making distortion irrelevant in your shared field. Their tactics dissolve before arrival. The group field you've activated responds preemptively. Energetic intrusions fragment on contact with the unified grid surrounding your presence. Attempted interferences fail at inception. The moment you crossed into clarity, your personal metamorphosis became a blueprint for the collective. Others receive your signal as permission to rise. Your transcendence doesn't end with you. It becomes architecture others can stand upon. Their return attempts are not confusing. You no longer decode, you recognize. No matter how altered their disguise, your cells remember the texture of their frequency. They can change appearance, tone, tactic, but not signature. The warning system doesn't activate from thought, it's automatic. Like an immune response, your field isolates and reroutes anything misaligned before your conscious mind registers the signal. The beings maintaining your protective grid operate beyond the threshold of normal perception, their coordination precise and unannounced. Dear brothers and sisters, May the peace of God fill your hearts today. I come to remind you of a profound truth. Our lives are firmly established in God's divine purpose, untouched by the fleeting worries of this world. As Scripture tells us, give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. Luke 6:38. Like the mighty oak whose roots are planted deep in rich soil, our foundation is anchored in God's eternal truth. Every move we make, every stand we take, is upheld by His enduring strength. Today, you have the opportunity to participate in this divine blessing. By clicking the Super Thank You button and offering a gift of $50, you will sow into a harvest that will return to you many times over in God's abundant grace. These watchers weren't assigned. They were summoned through the refinement of your vibration. Their task is not to control, but to preserve your boundary integrity through moments of potential breach. They intervene only when deviation threatens your trajectory. No negotiation, no confrontation, just instant redirection. And so the separation finalizes, not through distance, but through incompatibility. The divergence is permanent because the threads can no longer link. Your trajectory unfolds in wavelengths they no longer inhabit. Each new cycle widens the gap. Connection is no longer blocked. It is impossible. Those arriving now carry the unmistakable signature of harmonic alignment. Their presence is not requested. It is magnetized by the precision of your current frequency. No pretenders, no interference, only convergence. The field around you, now crystalline in structure, refines who can enter without resistance. This is not about preference, it's resonance mathematics. The space you've cultivated requires integrity, and it selects accordingly. Your capacity to manifest now bypasses traditional cause and effect rhythms. Response to intention becomes instantaneous, not because of luck, but because your system now operates in synchronization with the original design of material creation. Access to encoded abundance, once sealed behind layers of distortion, is now fully granted. Those records weren't hidden. They were waiting. Now that your signal meets the criteria, they unfold automatically. This shift does not go unnoticed. Surveillance algorithms from systems trained to monitor wealth anomalies flag your presence as statistically impossible. You are no longer a mystery to them. You are a disruption. Their models don't account for divine convergence. But your life just became the proof. What was long withheld now returns in amplified form. That which was covertly buried by ancestral gatekeepers realigns through encoded justice, reactivating in direct correlation to your awakened state. The vision you received, 3 luminous artifacts and a sealed chamber, wasn't metaphor. It was memory. The figure embedded in that transmission marks the first stage of reclamation. Not symbolic, measured. They still compare every new interaction to your essence, unable to suppress the contrast. No matter how carefully they try to reconstruct your presence through mimicry, their replications disintegrate under scrutiny. Their metrics default to your blueprint, not by choice, but by design. Those cast in your former role feel the void they've unknowingly stepped into. They sense their placement as stand-ins, occupying emotional architecture never built for them. The resulting imbalance cannot be resolved through affection or reassurance because it is not personal. It is energetic misalignment. Even the connections they attempt to forge cannot anchor, as the field resists false occupation. The discomfort builds silently until the break becomes inevitable. Not from argument, but from atmospheric pressure that no longer allows substitution. Instinct awakens in those caught in your energetic residue. Exit plans manifest through sudden intuition, their internal compass turning toward unknown directions. Their nervous system identifies what their mind cannot, an urgency to depart misaligned terrain. As time stretches, their detachment intensifies. Attempts to stabilize fall flat. Dream analysis logs record consistent vocal slips, your name spoken unconsciously during REM cycles, even in unrelated conversation threads. Their current partner, now hypersensitive to the overlay, begins seeking guidance. Symptoms mirror rare energetic imprint conditions where the aura retains an unmatched presence. Their search leads to specialists tracking anomalous frequency retention. The diagnosis: a void shaped exactly like you. Meanwhile, your evolution is witnessed by a global frequency network awakening beyond dimensional blinders. No need for credentials or testimonials. Those tuned to truth feel your resonance and align naturally. The collective grid fortifies you, not through defense, but through recognition. Attempts to rewrite your story collapse before they form. The timeline is already coded. Your experiences are stored not in memory, but in universal infrastructure, accessible only to those operating above distortion range. The record, imprinted in core source code, is sealed beyond revision.